Hello and welcome out in the audience to the final home game for the Minnesota Strike. I'm Kelsey Percy here with Jeff Novak. Thank you for joining us today. Today we are seeing the Minnesota Strike take on the Indianapolis Red in a first of the season vengeance matchup. The Indianapolis Red have the winning record for the season. It did not qualify them for playoffs. Your Minnesota team had a pretty tough schedule, finishing the season out right so far at this point 1-4. They are really feel they have something to prove. Yeah, lots and lots that we are excited to see. Jeff, you've seen a lot of film. We've talked about some of this coming up to it. What are things that you're looking for coming into this game?
Yeah, it's really exciting to be able to start and end your season at home, especially in front of this crowd. I think that the Strike are going to really try to end on a high note despite their record. And of course, Indy coming in, lost this matchup against Strike last season, so they've got kind of a lot to prove against the Strike. Want to take that win here at home and end their season on a high note too.
Yeah, it's an interesting play when for neither team this has playoff repercussions. But, however, this is very much a pride match. Both of these teams playing for a lot within themselves, also playing for something going into the next season. How you finish, how you're perceived can have a big impact on things like recruiting. Mm-hmm. You just always have to be thinking and planning for the future. So we are getting players taking the field. You can see a little bit of the Indy and now Strike lineup here. Something interesting going into this, a couple players that, in this case, Indianapolis has this game. So looking at Kat McGuire, Rachel Mast, tell me a little bit about their impact for this Indy team, Jeff.
Yeah, they've got so many impactful handlers, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how their cutters and their receivers kind of fill out deep in their game. I think that Indy has so many impactful players, but they haven't been able to put a full roster together, or maybe can't quite figure out yet where they want to be. I think now at the cap of the season, here's their chance to see where they're at with everyone here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple players to highlight too from this Minnesota Strike team that are not present. To this game, you're not going to see Steph Rupp. You're not going to see Emma Poyer. You're not going to see who else did coaches mention?
Oh, geez. Emma Peasley is also out today.
And someone we'd expect to see on this roster. So missing some firepower and some speed downfield. Poyer was a huge scoring impact for this Strike team. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So you can see Peasley there on the line in white in tennis shoes, though, not cleats, not what we had hoped for. I know was working through a knee injury earlier in the season. Hopefully that's not what has her sidelined, but sometimes it is better just to play the long game and get healthy first.
Right.
All right, so coming to this Indianapolis team, we got a chance to talk to the coaches earlier on today. Jeff, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the coaches had to say?
Yeah, Indy's looking today to deny resets for the Strike. The Strike have a strong handler set, especially in these windy conditions. I think that the Red want to shut that down quickly and force some deeper looks. They also talked about most energy wins. Last game of the season, they really want to end on a high note. They're going to come out strong, coming off a good weekend last weekend. So look for them to just come out with a lot of energy. And finally, win for Maya. Maya Hernandez, it's her last game of the season. Last game with the Reds. She's retiring after this game today. She's been with the Reds since 2020. So definitely an impactful player, someone who the Red have come to know and love. And so they want to, again, not only win for their last game of the season, but for Maya's last game of her career with the Red.
Yeah, always interesting to see how teams are able to execute these goals. It's very interesting. When we had a chance to talk to the Minnesota coaches, they've had some fiery chats with us previously. This time, we're a little more sleeky, held a little bit more back.
Yeah.
Tell me about their plan.
The Strike kind of know how the Reds offense is playing. They talk about baiting the deep. They almost want Red to look deep into the end zone. Again, Seafoam Stadium is quite the windy stadium, quite a windy venue here. They're not afraid to let that deep look go off and hopefully bait some 50-50s and come down with them. And then on the other side of that, locking down key players. Again, if they can shut down some key players deep in the end zone, again, win those 50-50s. There are a few certain players on the Red who Strike are going to look to pause. And once they can do that, I think they can open up this game and find a lot of success. And then finally, better than their record. The Strike are 1-4, but they're not playing like a 1-4 team. They've had a tough schedule. They've got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of talent and execution. I mean, they've been playing well. It just hasn't gone their way. So I think, again, they want to show that to their fans. They want to show that to the league. This last game, it's their time to show the league who they really are.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, action is starting here at this Minnesota Strike versus Indianapolis Red game. And welcome back. I'm Kelsey Percy here with Jeff Novak. We are just bare minute from PUL at Seafoam Stadium. Your Minnesota Strike versus Indy Red. One of the things we are going to be looking at here, getting you a quick view of the weather. Temperature hot for us, but fairly comfortable because of the wind. Check out that wind speed, 15 miles per hour. When we had a chance talking to one of the Indy players, Skittles Milton, she noted that last time they were here, it was in April. They thought it was just windy spring weather. Turns out, oh no, it's that notorious seafoam environment. So it is something that is in their heads a little bit, something they know they're going to have to compensate and work through. They're already thinking about what players they want to play. But we do want to give a quick moment here to acknowledge some of our sponsors.
The Discraft Ultra Star is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
This live ultimate broadcast of the Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmark Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops. And if you are enjoying today's stream, please consider donating by scanning the QR code there on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go towards pay or play, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams like the one today. Thank you for supporting the Minnesota Strike. Sarah Monstein gives you a big thumbs up. So, Jeff, we finally got players on the line.
Just about ready to start, it looks like.
I'm seeing a disc in the hands of the Minnesota coaches, which makes me, okay, Alicia Carr there set to pull. So fun times. Minnesota Strike will be starting. Look at the disc skills, Alicia Carr. Minnesota starting on D. Indy Red will receive. Any final thoughts, Jeff?
I'm really excited to see how this game goes. Again, great way to end the season here at Seafoam Stadium. It'll be fun no matter what.
Doesn't it feel like either team could win?
It really does. I think the PUL just has a lot of really great teams, and there's some fun competition among all of them.
Yeah, some interesting parity this year.
Mm-hmm.
Of it, I do think the Minnesota Strike has a good chance against this Indy team. However, Indy took down Portland Rising. Portland Rising really handled Minnesota in their first game of the season. So it's just like,
You
what
never
do you
know.
do in the head-to-head? Okay, so first pull has gone up. You're already seeing the effect of the wind just down in midfield. And Tracy Lowe will pick up. You'll be hearing a lot about T. Lowe as we go through. Mattamore with a risky shot through, but Swenson digs it up. Swenson finds Rachel Mast. Quick shot in. No contest.
Just like that.
That's smooth, and that says good things for this Indy team. What did you see even just in that first point, Jeff?
I think this Indy team really likes to work pretty quickly on offense. And I think the Strike, like they said, they want to bait deep, but Indy were pretty quick to be patient with that, look for the shorter resets, or the strike cuts, rather, continuation cuts. And they were able to work pretty quickly along the sideline to get into the goal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Swenson was definitely one of those players to watch from an Indy Red perspective. 6'1". 6'1".
Wow.
And we just saw the leg speed of that frame on that.
Yes.
We haven't even seen the height in play. Sure to be coming back to that later on. Okay, so now we're going to get our first look at the Minnesota Strike offense and be interested to see, too, one of the players getting a quick look at this replay. Yeah, just look at the separation. Jess Hendrickson there taking the Swenson matchup. Jess has some foot speed and just completely opening it up. So here, Indy Red to pull, and player to watch also, Kat McGuire, 77, with that pull. Someone who could be a difference maker on the counterattack for this Indy Red team. So Erica Bacon picking up. And already an immediate stoppage. So a little bit of discussion there. Bacon with the over to the head dish finds Steph Woods. And one of the things they talked about was the quick handler movement. Watch this Strike team just maneuver. The one-handed, maybe behind Mextroff there. And that's not a miscommunication you're going to see between Bacon and Mextroff that often.
Right.
Something that they're pretty good at working out. But now, again, this counterattack from the Indianapolis Red team. Kitten there with the disc finds McGuire over on the side. Big one-handed snag. Bree Burr is showing off the athleticism. McGuire looks for the reset. Nothing there. Goes around. Very nice break. Finds Timmons on the outside. Lasers it inside. And the foot block from Emery Odepalek. Getting the disc back. Bacon picks up and immediately fires wide open. Mextroff in the end zone. Easy score.
Mextroff almost immediately on that turn just went deep. And was very excited to receive that in the end zone.
And that's some of the chemistry that, like, years and years of playing on different club teams, long time playing Dragon Thrust in the series together. Bacon knew Mextroff was going deep. Mextroff knew that Bacon would throw it relatively short field. Yeah, just look, standing, no pressure. This defense is going to have to be Mextroff arms
just
up.
Arms up right away.
Send it. Send it.
And just stands there in the end zone, right to her.
So I liked the early pressure from Indy Red. I'd like to see them possess the disc. They were looking at some of these harder windows and going maybe late in the stall, looking up the field instead of to having good reset options.
I think Red, they like to make forward progress rather than lateral progress. And I think especially on a turn, they're going to have to be a little more patient on a defensive turn.
So the Indy offense back out there. Tori Gray taking the pull. This one goes far, all the way to the 30-yard line. Tori Gray just off a D1 Nationals appearance with Carlton Syzygy. and someone who, word to the wise, has a permanent green light from this Minnesota coaching squad. But it does look like Rachel Raisin Johnson will pick up. Was looking for Sarah Moonshine, just overshoots. They're going to be wanting to possess more than that on their counterattack. So Indy Red will get back up into action. Matamore fires inside. Finds Shirley Saunders. Saunders quickly finds Mast. Mast with the interesting arcing shot around the outside. Makes it up to Sloniger. But already a very turn heavy, and it doesn't necessarily feel like these are wind-forced errors.
Yeah, I think both teams are trying to still find maybe their feet underneath them, trying to manage the players on the field and feel each other out.
Strike using the full width of the field through that swinging action there. I do like this Indy offense and how it is. They set a zone on the turn. That's fantastic. You have to plan that. You have to drill that in practices. It's immediately effective.
Love seeing overhand throws.
Amelia Zadeklik there with the big hammer opening up the field. Finds Tori Gray. Gray looks like she's going to air it out, and instead will swing again. Raisin Johnson was looking for Helm, but Indy Red did a nice job to seal. Zadeklik coming through, opens it up. Disc goes up to Cook. Cook finds Raisin, and they are in the red zone. Showing a lot more patience here. Cook working with Raisin. Johnson goes outside. Breakside throw for Helm. Pops over.
Wow.
And the defensive pressure from Red, no go.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense was showing great patience. I think their offensive handler set, we know, do a great job at using their resets wisely, and their defense was maybe taking a page out of their own playbook there.
Yeah, I want to say that pressure there was from Mast, so now all the way back in their end zone. Red looks to Mast to open it up. Mast will dish, going give and go. But a reaching hand from Sarah Helm D's it up, and Minnesota with another short field. Johnson picks up. Big bid saving from Zadeklik. Folks, if you didn't know, Zadeklik is in high school, just graduated. Incredible athleticism and awareness on the field.
Yeah, she just perfectly represents everything exciting about the future of this team.
Oh, absolutely. Tori Gray now with the disc, working in the red zone, back and forth with Cook. Watch the speed on these two. They're just going to leave their players in the dusk out into space for Gray. Toes awareness, and it is good.
Very nice. Just great disc movement. Again, using the entire field, going deep, going wide whenever they needed to. Of course, speed never hurts, especially going to the end zone.
Oh, absolutely. So trading blows right now. 1-1. Getting another look at this replay. Watch Helm just step in, and I think Garanser could feel the pressure slowed up, but safe play, just touching in, reaching in. And that's the risk that you play when you're doing that dominator of is someone coming in. But now, watch this. Tori Gray and Cook just opening up the field with legs. No one else even close.
And Gray just directing traffic. This is where I'm going, and I can be whoever's going to meet me there.
This is where the depth is going to be really interesting because Indy Red, again, has the winning record, has some phenomenal players, but this Minnesota team has depth and really don't feel like they've played to their ceiling yet.
Yeah, I think they've so much potential. Again, their record does not reflect who they are as a team, and we're going to see that here tonight.
So PUL goes up, sailing deep all the way to the end zone line. One quick change, Kitten now on the field as they're going in an upwind line. So seeing some adjustments already. Looks like Risa Umeno is out there as well. So what I'm seeing is that Indy has put out what I would call a rebound line or a defensive offense. So they've gone with fresh legs, fresh mindset maybe. They might even be one line going downwind and one line going upwind. That would be fascinating. I would love that strategy. Hopefully they've got the D depth to make a run. Kitten fires to the end zone, and it is good. Lily Hobday for the score. What do you want to tell me about Lily Hobday?
Lily Hobday is an exciting player. She, I think, again, is a player for the Red who represents the future of the team. I think they're going to look for her. Pretty new to this team. Weren't sure how she was going to fit in on this lineup, on this roster, but she has slotted herself in perfectly, and they're building around her. They've got a great future with Hobday on the team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We talked about now twice, both teams, the new generation, the next generation, the up and coming, like who we're going to be looking to in the future, and also just how well they're finding chemistry with these teams. Something I'm super excited for. Pace of the game just clipping right along. Looks like it'll be Matamore there with the pull. She unleashes a big backhand, that going all the way to the 20-yard line. Bacon having to fumble a little bit, but gets it to Michaela Daly pretty quickly. Up to Steph Wood, no pressure. Open side cuts all the way, finds Mextroff. Interesting. Mextroff had Danny Byers going deep, but it looks like Swenson was able to pressure. Again, the length, the matching height for height. Swenson actually taller than Mextroff. It doesn't happen that often. But a quick D, Bacon able to pick up now in the red zone. That's a tough chip squandered, especially when you arguably have the starting O-line on the field. There you go, Danny Byers to Steph Woods. Score!
They were able to make it up, again, like they were so calm on that turn. They didn't let anything rattle them. I think if the Strike can continue that, keep their minds about them, I think that can be a really great movement for them for this game. On the other hand, Red, too, also needs to be a little more patient, I think, on that turn. Break points are such a key part of winning a game. When you have a rare turn, or maybe not even a rare turn, but a turn, you want to take your time, find your resets, find your handlers who are going to work it down the field. That just didn't go Red's way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. So, I mean, anything you're seeing differentiating so far? Right now, we're just really neck and neck.
Yeah, they're kind of going blow for blow, which is, again, really exciting. I think it shows how evenly matched these two teams are so far. We're not seeing any strange looks from either team. We're seeing kind of what we expected to see, I think. Both teams are kind of containing the deep games and forcing a lot of throws.
Yeah, both teams right now able to get it back on a turn. We haven't seen our first break, and I think that might be one of the defining features, especially here in the first half. So now you've got, again, what seems to be kind of this upwind line for Indiana. Looked for Timmons, didn't have it. Finds McGuire finally on release. Riso Mena saving grab. Goes around to Phillips. Yeah, I was waiting for that pick because there was a lot of players crowded up in the middle. Players talking, maybe looking to sort it out. Looks like it is still a short stall count. So Mena goes back over to Phillips. Sails high. McGuire had Cook pressuring. Able to come down with the grab. Finds Wyckoff. Wyckoff lasers it into Burkhart. Burkhart looking for an out. Finds McGuire. McGuire usually more of a downfield hybrid. Looking to connect with Wycroft. Instead, disc goes wide. And here we go. Break chance. And in the better field positioning for break chance that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think field position is going to be big in this game, especially with no teams breaking yet.
Raisin Johnson with a big shot up. Two players in the area. Sarah Monshine is closest, bids and gets it. Huge fingertip grab from Monshine.
What an electric layout from Monshine. She's so good like that in the end zone. She's not afraid to put her body on the line. And again, first break for the strike. Let's see if we can get another one.
Again, another look at this shot from Johnson. It's high up there. Monshine having to crane her neck the whole way, reaches, and through the contact maintains possession.
She never leaves contact with the disc. She's tracking that disc all the way into the end zone, starts to curve toward the end, and it sets her up perfectly for that layout.
Man, and that shot, it gives me just a little bit of anxiety of like how floaty it was, but you're going partially downwind. You've got this nasty crosswind too. Like, you've got to set it out where it softens, and that's so hard to execute and keep in bounds. That could have sailed. That could have completely gone. So first break on the books. Minnesota will take it. Going up 4-2. Indy already the first to adjust, but it's costing them. It looked like they had fewer handles on the field that play. But check this. When you're looking out on the field, you've got some crossovers already. Mextruff on the field.
It looks like some kind of poach defense here, especially deep for the strike.
And that might be a regional and almost like systems wide of the process of help defense. We can definitely talk more about that later. Shot into deep, 2 defending players, and it's Jess Hendrickson that gets the D. Yeah, another quick look at that. That shot was intended for Skittles Milton. Tried to attack it, but just the converging players too much, swatted away. So strike now with an opportunity deep in their end zone. This is risky. If you're strike, high stall, that's so tough. I think was looking for the dump, needs to look so much sooner. But now a stoppage on the field. Potentially stall called. This might go back to the end zone.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
I mean, if we're being frank, difference of 5 yards. Like, this is advantageous to Red either way. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
So was called a strike. Tosses it to Matamore, not in. High release. And it is score. That is exactly what Indy wanted. Maybe not how they drew it up. And I believe that score going to Tilo. Getting another look at that. Yeah, good work from Matamore to keep it in play. The high release, lots of touch into that corner. Okay, no, score going to Skittles. Skittles Milton there with the score.
Just another player on the Red who is just such a good player no matter where she plays, where she's put. Someone they've been able to build around last few seasons as well.
Yeah, definitely one of the continuity pieces, which is so useful. Even when you are getting these new infusions of talent, how do you keep, your team sticking to its systems? How do you keep those new players adapting quickly and gelling in? It helps to have those anchors and the players that you can count on to make a big play when it's needed. Daly centers up to Bacon. Bacon middle of the field, but almost a flat mark. I like that choice by Indy. Shot from Byers goes up to Steph Wood. Steph digs it out. Goes up to Mextruff. Mextruff looking to swing. Shot to Daly. Wasn't sure if it was her because of the float. Finds Weiss back around. Look to break to the corner. Has Mex going. Will reset instead. Working along the line. Daly striking up. Looks for Bacon instead. End zone line. Shot to Mex. And the snag out of the air from Sarah Mextruff.
Once again, just great disc movement by Strike's handlers. Not feeling a lot of pressure, even if there were not a lot of open cutters. They were able to reset, adjust their cutters as needed, and punch it in.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I think really made that possible, look how low this is. Look how low Steph had to get to dig it out. You see the contact through the body. And then the shot from back around. Effort, and you're seeing the wind affecting the play.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's downwind, it's still impacting the disc and how it's moving, and they're adjusting.
Yeah, and as always, check out this crowd. Relatively quiet so far, not for lack of effort, but we've seen this crowd get a lot more hype. I'm looking forward to hearing more from this crowd later on. If you haven't been to a Minnesota Strike game, you should. It is an experience. Always got good food truck action. Always got good play on the field. As much as you enjoy our voices, come on out. Get here in person. Okay, so play resumes with Indy Red. Mattimore again being the center of this downwind offense for Indy. Finds Rachel Mast under. Lots of yards. Love Mast's ability to dish for yardage. Working it there with Garanser. Garanser finds Mattimore again, clearing out to the side, opening up space. Schloniger comes off the front of the stack. Looks for Hernandez, not there. Fighting through pressure. Snagging grab from Mattimore in. Yes, it is. And so that is Garanser to Mattimore. Not the prettiest, but it sure was effective.
Just kind of snuck in that front line of that end zone. Good pressure from Strike on defense, but Red were able to adjust. Again, we've talked about how handler resets are so key, especially in these windier games. And they did a great job at, if a cut's not working, finding another option, taking a second or third look.
Yeah, so that was a mostly person defense from Strike. If I'm Strike, do you change it up? Do you start to, they looked just a little bit, it wasn't pretty, but it looked fairly comfortable and very consecutive.
And we talked at the beginning how Strike wanted to kind of bait the deep game, let Indy take that deep look and go for some 50-50s, and we haven't really seen that yet. So, yeah, maybe they do take a minute to reevaluate, see if they can stop this offense from working the disc.
And now on this point, time does become a factor. 10 seconds left on the clock. One of the things Strike will need to be careful of is possessing the disc through this 10 seconds. And it is time in the field. So now with the clock gone, if Strike turns the disc, it will be dead. Indy does not have a chance to respond.
They've got all the time in the world that they need for this point.
But with that pressure from Umeno, yep, observer signaling done. So we are done for the first quarter. Wow. Strike up one break, 5-4 over Indy. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more action. And welcome back to the Minnesota Strike versus Indy Red game. A little bit of appreciation for our sponsors here.
VC is the exclusive official uniform sponsor of the Minnesota Strike. Get your official Strike jerseys, hats, and more at vcultimate.com. facebook.com/collections/Minnesota Strike.
Another recognition for Brent Johnson, the Realty Guy. Brent Johnson is a proud ultimate parent and sponsor of Minnesota Strike. If you are in the market for buying a home or having family who may be exploring buying, selling in the near future, Brent Johnson is experienced, does a high volume of transactions in the metro area. He is the ultimate supporter of the ultimate community and also the official realtor of the Minnesota Strike. As someone who has worked with Brent Johnson can confirm, really good realtor and awesome guy.
Made with simple ingredients and with the kind deed written on every stick, Johnny Pops are the perfect treat to cool you down. New flavors are available now at your favorite Minnesota retailer, including Cub Foods, Lund's, Kowalski's, Fresh Time, and more.
And it is a little toasty up here in the booth. I think both of us would benefit from a Johnny Pops right about now.
I could use one.
Yeah, interesting. When we were down on the field, the conditions not feeling quite so hot. Normally turf really ramps it up, but the breeze coming through, keeping players cool. So kind of ideal. I mean, especially if you're a thrower, you call it a thrower's wind. There's a lot you can work with. Do you think the wind has been a significant factor here in the first quarter so far?
You know, we haven't seen it catch too many discs yet. We haven't seen a lot of plays interrupted by the wind. Of course, it could always pick up. You never know. But I think that almost all the turnovers are not due to the wind. So we'll see if that changes.
Yeah, a little bit execution, maybe a little bit also defensive pressure of making some of those windows that these teams like to look for smaller and smaller. If you're joining us just now, I'm Kelsey Percy here with Jeff Novak. Jeff Novak, one of the proud founders of Wind Chill Talk and, more importantly in this case, Strike Talk. If you haven't gotten a chance, listen to their podcast. Jeff now getting a front row seat to the action up here in this live stream. So Mattimore with the big pull action down on the field. Indy continuing to work in this kind of upwind, downwind line positioning. Strike does have their offensive prime line out on the field. Beck with the disc, finds Bacon, was looking for Daly able to pull the defense out. A little bit of a zone line, that kind of 3-3-1 we've seen from Indy, if you've studied film like we have. Love that sweeping step out, that fake, moving the cut back or the defensive back, big around from Daly. I think Byers was looking upfield, and the bobble right there. That's unfortunate. They were moving the disc so well. But now, with a talented offensive line, Red going downwind. High stall count. Skittles, Milton bails it out. Milton now on the side. Had Swenson, but flat mark from Mex. Chose to go outside. Over to Mattimore. Finds Garancher. Lots of tight defensive pressure from the strike downfield. Swenson currently taking the Byers matchup. Goes back to Garancher. Garancher was looking for Hernandez. Just went a little high, unable to bring it down. So no strike will get another chance. Daly immediately over to Bacon. Had Mex going deep, but Swenson was eyeing that space, and I'm glad he looked. Over the top shot will sail just too far wide, and there you're seeing it. That's, I think, one of our first true wind turns.
And I think that's kind of what Indy is trying to do with that zone, is stop some of these shorter throws and get that disc going up, let some wind catch it, and force a turn.
Almost more of the strike game plan in action.
Exactly.
Okay, so now Hernandez with the disc. Goes over, finds Lowe. Low to Milton. Watch Milton. Milton's always going to throw a fake in there, really moving the defense, trying to get the lane that she wants open. Up the line to Mattimore, just too far from Swenson. So Daly will pick up on their own end zone. This is a tough spot for Strike. They're going upwind, and they're in their own end zone, and right now their stack looks pretty deep. They're going to need to use legs among their handlers or take a big shot over the top. Bacon to Mextroff. Mextroff looked like she was going to air it out. Instead, will reset back to Beck. Back to Bacon, but it's into traffic. Tilo was there, and Mextroff unable to track it down. So another opportunity.
Strike still just trying to figure out how to work through this zone and adjust their offense.
So Mast will go back to Garansher. Garansher being very patient. Doesn't like what she sees downfield. Instead, will go to Matamore. Matamore looking to the break side, but Steph Wood is there and on top like glue. Quick dishing action back and forth from Garansher to Matamore. Opens up the field. Shot to Swenson, but Byers' hand is there. Byers jogging downfield. No quick shot will go, though. Daly looking across the field. Over to Johnson McKee. First time I've said that name so far this game. Too far, intended for Byers. I don't think Byers had a real good read on the disc. I think he was expecting it to come in a lot lower. So again, another turn. For those that are counting, we're already at 5 turns, like back and forth turns of possession for this point. This is still the first
point of this quarter.
Mm-hmm. Pressure deep, 2 defensive players there, but it is Mast who will come down with it over the pressure of Beck and Mextroff. Wow.
Yeah, again, great end zone pressure from the Strike. Mast just able to get up above them, come down with that disc for the break.
What a crucial break point right there. They weren't able to respond within the first quarter. Here in the second quarter, and watch this. Tracking through Mextroff. Mextroff was there. How unusual is that? That's not something you see.
Mextroff.
And tell me something unique about both these players. Where were we going to see them later on this year?
They will actually be teammates in Australia for the Team USA with WIFDIF. Just really exciting to see them go head-to-head first here at Seafoam Stadium in St. Paul.
So competition here, future teammates. And also says something about the caliber of both of these players, that we're seeing 2 Team USA players going head-to-head.
It's a fun matchup.
Some good waves from the Indy Red sideline. And so now Indy earned the right to go back upwind, so it is now Strike who will be going downwind. And they have put a defensive line outside. They've put a rebound out since their offense got broken. Does look like they've got a couple players. No, that's most of their whole line. Shot over to Gray. Gray eyes the sideline, toes it in. That sight coming from Monshine. Gray airs it out, looking for Cook. Cook tracking and brings it into the end zone. What a good hold for this Minnesota team after that break.
It was such a quick point, too, compared to the last point. Great positioning, great awareness for Gray to toe the line in the end zone or on the sideline. She knew that disc was almost overshot, and she has the wherewithal to watch where she is on the field and then turn around and get it to the end zone in just one throw.
That awareness, and that's the danger of giving Gray that much cushion on her throws. They sat back asking her to make that over the top. She will always throw that over the top.
She was challenged, and she took that challenge.
All right. So we've had a break. We've had a response. Do you think either team has the edge right now?
I mean, they really do seem pretty evenly matched. Again, only a total of 2 breaks this game, 1 for each team. We'll see if it takes, the first half of the game for one of them to really figure out their opponent. It's fun to see them go blow for blow. Makes for a good game.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
This is how both teams wanted to end their season.
Yeah, no, they're showing their capacity. They're showing some defensive IQ and intensity, some big plays. I'd like to see a little bit more possession, but hey, that's always me. And I like shots. But I want to see more.
Yes.
So this time we've got Chuck Wilson out on offense. A lot of quick movement. Hernandez over to Matamore. Wilson circling back will be in that handle space. But we do have a stoppage.
Pit call, I think.
So as they talk it out, this is interesting. This is more of a flex line than we've seen to date from this Indy team, but a lot of these players have gotten real points. There you go. Chuck Wilson, one of those, has seen some real points on offense. So showing a little bit of the depth of their roster here. Over to Garansher. And there you go. Mattamore finds Sloninger, the elbow spike to the turf.
Just another great response from Red. Again, like we've been saying, blow for blow. Neither of these teams are willing to give up, let the other team, walk over them. They're doing a great job at responding to any adversity they're facing.
Yeah, getting another look here. They love these inside lanes, these narrow spaces, and it kind of spins the defense around. And Sloninger had one of the better defensive matchups there in Jess Hendrickson. So under a lot of pressure. I liked the effectiveness of the zone look from Indy. I'd love to see a similar response defensively from Strike, but they've got to get their defense out there in order to do that. So a very critical hold here for the Minnesota Strike.
Mm-hmm.
McGuire with the pull. Big air and a little bit of roll. Louise Beck will pick it up. Defensive pressure. Holds off on the first look, but does hit Bacon. Looks like a bit of a set play, but the defensive pressure really slowing things down. Goes over to Bailey. Haven't gotten past there. Oh, what a risky inside shot. And Bacon airs it out, looking for Danny Byers. Catches wind. Lots of space. Just shy of the end zone line. Looks for Steph Woods. That was a laser. Woods looks to the end zone, doesn't like the options, finds Bacon instead. Bacon, an unusual error. That one intended for Johnson McKee. Wonder if there was some contact there on the disc just to kind of slow it down. Maybe a bit of a hand block.
Yeah, I do wonder because it didn't look like it got to where she wanted it to go. Yeah.
So Kitten with the big step out finds McGuire. Will dish it back. Indy talked about Kitten having really good throws in the wind, and that was something they were prepared to leverage. Hobday back, working with Umeno. Umeno finds Kitten. Kitten has a wide open McGuire, but the mark from Daly forces McGuire to go all the way to the sideline. Daly lasers inside to find Hobday. Hobday being matched up against by Steph. Lots of pressure there, forced to go to the reset. Bacon walking it off. Okay, timeout call. There we go. That was a curious body language. I was wondering if we were getting an injury call or what was going on.
I'm curious how now Strike bring out their defense and if they do set a zone, if they do want to throw a zone and try to slow down Red at all.
But a little more on that line. So something, if you're new to the PUL, welcome. End of the season, never too late to join.
That's right.
One of the key factors that's going to differentiate this pro-level play from club play or from high school, any other levels you're going to see, including college, just had some great D1, D3 action these past couple weekends, is that at a timeout, teams can sub entire lines. Not just one or two players, the whole line if they want to. And so you're right, this is a key part of the strategy from a coaching perspective of what they can bring to play. If you're Strike, do you change it? Do you leave your line out there?
And it looks like they are subbing players out.
And it's interesting because I would say the Strike offense has one of the better defense capabilities, but confidence also to put this D-line in for them to get the D and then be able to get the hold. So Garansher working with Tilo. Big fakes from Tilo. Airs one out. Whole bunch of players in the area. That was a touch from Helms, but it's Mextroff who'll come down with it. Sarah Monshine back. Looks for Raisin for a reset. Raisin airs it out. That's a bullet. Swenson was in the way. Mextroff got a hand on it, but wasn't able to bring it in. Quick series of turns there. Pressure from Monshine. Skittles Milton focuses, brings it through, finds Chuck Wilson. Wilson looked for the around. Instead, Tilo goes up line. A lot of separation right now between this handle set and their cutters. Milton finding the middle. Slides, isn't able to find the toss from Garansher. So another opportunity. Again, this would be a hold for strike. Tori Gray coming across the middle. Raisin Johnson was wide open because Tilo had faded to do some pressure on that line. Cook is open downfield, gets the disc, looks for Mextroff. That one will connect. Sarah Helm was cutting strike, but instead will clear out. Mextroff goes swing, hangs up. Attacking the disc, but Monshine keeps it safe. Johnson looks. The inside look. Laser finds Cook on her knees for the score.
Maybe a risky look, but it definitely paid off. Cook was right there ready for it. And yeah, that was a hold. It may feel like a break, but with that timeout, strike hold, and they needed that.
Look how low. This was a inside look. Had to be precise. You're still getting wind pressure. Look how low she gets. Foot completely turned.
And the disc just kind of stayed flat along the ground, and you saw Cook have to go down to get that too.
That is Cook's second goal of the game. Not bad for a defensive player, racking up the points. Getting a look there at Maya Hernandez. This is Maya Hernandez's reminder. Last game of her pro career has been playing for this team now. This would be her 5th year. Other fun fact about Maya Hernandez. She has played international with Cub Charrua from Uruguay, but also most recently played the series with a team called Thunderpants, the Magic Dragon.
I want to be on that team.
I want that jersey.
Yeah.
McGuire takes a shot, looking for Mast. Crowd of strike players in the area. And strike will swipe it away. It is Chelsea Semper out the back of the end zone. I like Mast as a target. You know I like Mast as a target.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a crowd of pressure. Okay, so now a break opportunity for strike. Semper will start with the disc. Alicia Carr is backwood, but instead they'll release up the side to Monshine. Monshine looks back, finds Semper. Semper wanted and up the side, but Cook was cutting away. Gray has it, airs it out. Cook has yards. Cook's got the disc. Doesn't lose it in the sun. Immediately turns, looking for a dish. Jess Hendrickson has it. Chucks was looking, striking upfield. This time it'll be Cook and Gray.
That combination is such a good one for strike. They get another break here. Maybe they're going to start trying to take the game away. They did a great job. Again, defensive pressure in the end zone against the red. Took some big looks downfield. This time it was Cook to Gray instead of Gray to Cook.
Yeah, and you see that back and forth. And remember, these are technically upwind throws. They're upwind, crosswind. Cook does a great job of reading it. Again, she's looking directly into the sun, finding this disc. I love the decision to immediately look backwards, go for a dish, not waiting for someone to go downfield, but wants to attack with the legs. People will say, you are never as open as when you've thrown the disc. Because the defense instinctively looks at the disc, looks where it's going, and you can move. Cook takes advantage of that, moves Tori Gray, knows that she's getting that second disc, makes the upline cut, and does it from nicely inside. Like, doesn't try to go around Cook, doesn't make it a narrow window, keeps it fairly wide.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the best red zone I've seen so far from this Strike team. And I think it's one of the areas where I would argue they've struggled so far this season for what they are capable of. It'll definitely be really interesting. Ironically enough, one of the areas where I think I've really seen this Indy Red team succeed is their defensive help, their defensive pressure. I think in games against, for example, Gridlock and Monarchs, that was an area where they were missing a little bit of that intuitive pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that you gain from having players like, there you go, McGuire on the field, and just how that shifts around their personnel. McGuire looks up line, working back and forth with Hobday. McGuire almost to the red zone. Once the around will find Kitten. Kitten immediately swings. Low throw, but Kirker picks it up. Kirker now with McGuire. McGuire using the leg speed. Up line to Hobday. McGuire towards the end zone. One snagging grab. Deep in the corner. Still looking to end zone, not to swing. The dish to Kitten, and it's there. Ooh, is that a risky play or what?
It felt like that stall count was getting a little up there. You said they're looking in the end zone, not swinging it. And again, I think that's Reds' their strategy. Is they like to go forward. They don't like to go around necessarily. They don't like to make negative yards if they can help it. And right on the end zone there, they're looking to punch it in.
So we've both watched a good bit of film coming into this. I know specifically that Gridlock game. How many goals would you say you saw that were that like 1 to 2 yard dishes?
It seems like every other, almost. You know, it just they
and
do a
watch
good
again,
job
right there. And it's soft. It's soft.
Yes.
Still has good rotation. McGuire has such good control in that short space. That can be a really, like I said, a risky shot. It's a very narrow window. You have to release it at the right time. And I do watch how McGuire steps out, really extends past the defender. And it makes Helms either has to commit and really take away and shift. And if I'm Helms, I don't know, I would almost shift over further, right?
Right.
Shift in more towards the end and force them to go back around.
Right. We know that they don't like that.
So we've got the pull going up. Luis Beck all the way back. 11 seconds. Clock is rolling. Bacon will start the disc again. Really important that Strike maintains possession here. They've had both of the last two end of quarters, but the last one they didn't get a shot on goal. They weren't able to take advantage of that. And they really need to possess this disc, march it up the field to have this opportunity.
And just couldn't quite connect on that, and leaves it open for Red to get an extra point up at the start of the next quarter.
Yeah, Strike had it all the way around to Aldapalek. This is now the second end of quarter that they haven't possessed cleanly. It's just a lost opportunity. We could be at a much different score.
Mm-hmm.
So any last thoughts here? First half, was this what you expected?
You know, I don't know what I expected. I liked a close game. I wanted a close game, but again, the lack of break points, the lack of wind affecting the game. Yeah, we're in for an exciting second half.
And I mean, only 6 points scored this quarter versus the other. It feels like we've slowed down the pace. So, yeah, lots of interesting stuff. We are going to go to half, take a break here, and we will be back for more later. Again, Kelsey Percy with Jeff Novak. See you soon.
Strike has clearly risen to the top of the Midwestern division.
We're starting to really hit our stride, I think.
Run through D by Sarah Monshine.
That's a great throw. Fire's able to just coast out. It's put on a platter for her.
Every lesson that we've learned along the way, put it together and just be the best we can be.
Atlantic has the height here, and she's able to come down with it.
Big under, Dreen streaking towards that open side, and the cartwheel spike. We have Raisin shooting to Jane Cook, just sitting out there, and there we have it.
But Steph Wood with the quick shot across the top. No other star power needed.
Helm coming through with the block on that last throw.
D-line Helm, that's what we like to see. Helm's been huge in some big moments for Strike over the past couple of games. And we have an incredible play. Dreen looking for Fennig on the give and go. Bounces off of Fennig's hands during the bid, and Katie Godfrey is able to clean it up. Another great grab here from Fennig, and then dime hammer to the back corner. Wood able to just run onto it. Seems like Fennig has inspired a new generation of Strike hammer throwers in this game.
Oh, but
And that's an Emma Peasley hand block, everybody. Peasley says no.
out to Mattamore, and she takes a big shot. It's intended for number 44, Anastasia Foster, but Emma Poyer is there with the big D. Hear those stands rumble. The fans are feeling it.
Oh, great layout D from Sadie Redding to get it back.
Right.
Oh, great layout from Sarah Monshine. Amazing grab.
And shooting it, Baker's there. Randall
with the D.
coming in for the D. A great layout D from Robin Fennig.
Welcome back to the second half of the Minnesota Strike versus Indy Red. This PUL game has been all kinds of exciting. I'm Kelsey Percy here with Jeff Novak. Wow, Jeff. I mean, we had breaks going both ways. We had some big plays. We've had, short time goals for end of quarters that didn't go successfully. What are you looking for from both these teams here in the second half?
I think just execution on turns, and on the other hand, preventing turns and just keeping it clean, limiting turnovers as much as possible.
Which team so far would you say is winning the possession game?
Yeah, it feels like Red's doing a great job controlling it, but we'll see if Strike can take it back.
Yeah. On that note, we are going to get a word from one of the Indy Red coaches. Laura, to you on the field.
Yeah, I'm here with Red coach Jackie Lai. A hard-fought half. What has been going well for you right now?
Yeah, I think that we've really been using our legs. We've been grinding both on O and D
being able to take what the win gives us, which sometimes isn't very much. But we are in the mindset of making a couple adjustments, a couple tweaks to be able to come out and rock at this second half.
So there's some really good matchups that I've been seeing, a lot of tough matchups on our side and on your side, and a lot of good ones to watch. How are you approaching those matchups?
Yeah, I mean, Strike has some amazing players. There's only so much that you can take away from them. I know that I mentioned to some of the commentators early before the game, we've been trying to deny the disc out of Bacon's hands because she is an amazing thrower. So as much as we can, if we can get her to swing it laterally, that's great for us. Max Roth, obviously, amazing downfields. We try and limit as much as we can. We don't want her to get too deep on us. Same with Byers, and try and force them under. So you do as much as you can to limit how much they hurt your team. And so we've been pretty strategic about that aspect, yeah.
And lastly, are you making any adjustments going into the second half?
Yes, some individual kind of player adjustments on the field that we've been seeing, depending on, if this wind keeps up. It died a little bit in the beginning of the game, started upping throughout the game. If this wind continues to change and swirl, we'll make some adjustments there.
All right, and there you have it. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you so much, Laura. So some really interesting things there from the Indy Red coach. One of those that Jeff, we were even talking about just in the brief halftime break that we had was specifically the lack of, show that we usually get from Mextroff and Byers, both phenomenal players, both high-level players. What did you think about that? Sounds like they're having a successful matchup there.
Yeah, Indy definitely wanted to shut down a few key players, lock in. And both those two, Byers and Mextroff, are very effective for the Strike, especially downfield. And by eliminating those two pieces downfield, it kind of shortens up the Strike's game a little bit and puts a little bit more pressure on some other players who may not get those deeper looks.
Yeah, and so some of the players that you're seeing step up, you've seen both Sarah Munshine there with that incredible layout grab there in the second quarter, and then Jane Cook, who also has 2 goals. So you're seeing these kind of standouts from the defensive line, seeing other players, and this is that depth piece of the pressure that Indy has been able to do, forcing Strike to go to secondary and tertiary looks. But those players currently are playing well. Now, if that changes, it could be really successful if Indy is able to continue to pressure those players. Who's been your favorite matchup from Strike in terms of taking Indy options out of play?
Yeah, I've liked kind of seeing Rachel Mast kind of be taken out a little bit. Again, she's really hard to completely take out of the game. You can't stop her completely, but slowing her down.
Snag over Mextroff.
Slowing her down is almost like like slowing down Mextroff and slowing down Byers. Getting her out of the game definitely helps the Strike swing some momentum their way.
Yeah, so almost a net neutral.
Yeah.
We'll take out your Team USA player, you take our Team USA player out of the picture. What do we have left?
That's right.
And in this case, lots. We've seen lots of big plays going both ways. So right now, it looks like Minnesota Strike will start on D for the second half. Alicia Carr with the big pull down the field. Makes it down just shy of the 20. Risa Umeno there. Quickly bouncing to Kitten and McGuire, and already a stoppage. Looks like there was a pick on the play, and play will restart. McGuire again showing the range of step out, able to hit these break side looks. The huck from Wyckoff. And you hear the cheers. The huck from Wyckoff went all the way up to Hobday. Hobday able to dish it for the score.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back almost to the end of last half. If Strike were able to punch in that end of quarter goal, we're still looking at a lead. That's almost like a mini break for them to get that end of quarter goal. Since they weren't, Red kind of came out of the gates really hot here in the second half, scored and tied it up.
So that was a really quick hold from Indy. That's a good energy possession from them because they're able to put it in and then immediately get their defense out. We talked about energy there from this team, and that is something that could really carry them through the second half and get them back in the game. One quick acknowledgement, though, this live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today. So pull up, strike on offense. Daly finds Byers in the middle. Look at this almost immediate double team. The sagging from Milton into the lane to really take away the upfield options, looking to limit Byers' throws. Daly goes around to the break side instead. Finds Wood. Wood dishing to Otapalek. Otapalek finds Bacon. Again, masked on Bacon. What a fantastic matchup. A little bit of discussion there. Wonder if there was some contact on the disc. We saw the foot flash up, maybe restarting the stall count. Either way, quickly finds Daly. Byers looking. Otapalek tried to save it, just went too high, and we've seen a couple of those.
Yeah, I don't know, again, if it's miscommunication or if there was some wind that caught it, but just couldn't quite find Byers.
Yeah, it looked like Byers was maybe coming under, and Daly maybe thought Byers was going in a more of a lateral or deep look. But I think trying to save that disc, Otapalek came up just a little bit injured, will sub out, and Monshine coming in. So now Indy Red with the disc. Cycles mass through, clears the defense out. Instead, Maya Hernandez will get it. Quickly finding Matamore again. Up to Mast. Milton with a lot of space, but Steph Wood steps in and instead swinging around over to Tilo. This time does find Hernandez. Hernandez dishing. Power position for Matamore, but no one there. Max on Swenson again. Monshine now taking the masked matchup, getting into the red zone. Hernandez has got it. Looking, doesn't like it. No reset. We'll send up a bailout. Mex and Swenson. This time it's Mex. And Mex immediately finding Daly, getting action. Swenson way behind.
And those two were just kind of waiting in the end zone there.
What a duel. They both knew that if bailout was possible.
They were ready.
That was really good denial defense from Strike. But now, Indy Red putting on the pressure. Not a lot of options downfield. Monshine, not a part of this line regularly, so having to get some instant chemistry. Finds Mex over on the side. Mex to Beck. Beck looks, waits. Clears it out. Instead, it's Bacon. Bacon will shoot. Mex is in the area. Mex with steps and Mex with the goal.
And look at that. They talked, Red talked about limiting Bacon and preventing her throws. We've talked about how Mex has also been very limited in the end zone and deep. And both of them were able to air out what they do best, and it resulted in a point.
And for the first time, bookends from Mextroff. It's something we're used to seeing.
That feels really good to see that here in the second half. Let's see if they can keep up this momentum.
And that would be scary for Red.
It really would.
And it's tough with the level of intelligence that Mextroff, it's not just the athleticism. It's not just the height. It's the positioning on the field, the adjustments from section to section, and watch Swenson just getting left.
Mm-hmm. Even right before her block in the other end zone, you could tell that she was kind of praying in the end zone, waiting for that disc to come, just kind of hunting and lingering.
So now, Tori Gray with the pull, Gray lining up. Watch the technique, that step pattern. That's something that makes me so happy as a coach. So, big pull going up. Risa Umano, this is the upwind line that has worked so well for this Indy Red team.
The Strike have not been able to figure out how to slow him down.
Remember when the coaches said that they'd have McGuire on the D-line mostly?
Yes.
That was cute.
How things change.
And adjustments, but also just I think it's so smart of them to have that D-line, O-line. It's a little bit of a mentality. They get to be familiar with the wind. And also just the ability, and we've seen them go a little bit XY in other games. So their team maybe a little bit more flexible, not being purely O&D. Now we did see a turn. That shot was intended for Samantha Phillips. And the quick shot from Johnson intended for Tori Gray goes wide. On the plus side, Red having to go all the way back into their end zone.
Field positioning has definitely played a factor in this game, especially going full length of the field is not an easy task against a Minnesota defense.
So quick up the field. Wyckoff looks for McGuire. McGuire, I think, was eyeing Timmons, but decided to go inside for Burkhart instead, and just too low. Sometimes it's tough when you go for one throw, but instead readjust and try to throw another, and your body's just still lined up. That shot from Semper was intended for Helms, got a little bit turned around, double pressure, turn again. And again, this would be a hold. Big saving grab from Phillips, comes up just short, contact shakes it loose. So now we're not just red zone, we are end zone possession here for the Strike. They looked good in a previous red zone opportunity. Can they value it the same? Johnson swings out. Semper dives to grab.
Great save.
Semper has Cook. Cook is so dangerous in the red zone. Shake and bake, and Cook with the score.
That's the third goal for Jane Cook today. Again, you love to see just kind of the versatility of these players. Cook usually on defense, usually making these huge blocks. She's still obviously able to do that, but putting her in the end zone and putting the disc in her hands is paying off for the Strike.
And that's a break. We're back up, difference of 2.
That's a big break, too, especially coming late into the game. That could almost be the difference of the game at the end.
And you're seeing, look at a little bit of that shimmer. There's some heat out here, folks.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, you get into fatigue. You're going to get into that space. Look again, Semper. Concentration, momentum grab, popped up, and moved the defense. Yeah, look at that. You saw the survey and then the dish of just the, if Semper's a little bit slow, now I think Cook was timing the cut either way, but that's that connection, the athleticism, and knowing that you're in that space where like every fraction of a second makes it important to make that big play. Big shot up from Matamore. Matamore has Hernandez. Huge Hernandez with the score and the celly.
That is a big point for Hernandez. Again, big hugs in the end zone with the whole team. Just what a great way to celebrate. Just kick off your last game. Close out a great career with the Indy Red.
Yeah, Hernandez has had such an incredible career. Just a real stalwart on this team. Someone who's notorious for, what do they call it, the spin cycle?
Yes.
Just getting players completely turned around. And you see some of that acceleration of, you know, Hernandez has played Masters, played International, played the series, played pro, just committed so much time, even coached a YCC team all the way to the national championship, winning spirit there for, I believe, a mixed U20 team. So, yeah, incredibly storied career. Fantastic to see her walking away from this game with at least one score. Wouldn't be surprised if we see another.
Still a lot of game left for her.
Yeah, and these small celebrations are what can get your energy back into the level it needs. This would be a really good time for Red to break. Steph Wood with the shot, looking for Mex. Doorstep. Mex has Byers. Byers tightly marked, and the D.
And how often have we seen that tonight? Again, just taking out these key pieces. Mex to Byers is a pretty classic Strike combination that they are quieting down.
And Kirk was there. Kirker was all over it. The acceleration through. not a fantastic cut. Like, that's a small space. Defense had the inside line. It's just a little bit off, it seems. Again, McGuire with the big backhand step out. Shot goes up, aired. Steph Wood there with the pressure. But Bree Burris brings it down, finds Hobday, quickly dishing over to Wyckoff. Yeah, Red just on the move.
They like to work quickly.
And you saw that. Kitten to McGuire, already up to Burris again. When they're in motion, they are really dangerous. Burris looks for Kirker on the inside, just popped off her hand. I think it was a little high. Bacon airing it out, has Byers. Byers with the read and the big lefty snag. There she is, folks. Steph Wood has Byers going deep. Will holster instead. Finds Beck. Beck has a wide open end zone corner instead. Will look. Daly up the line. Still one step short. Daly looks. No resets.
Wow.
And somehow Bacon. How?
It looked like multiple defenders had their hands on that before Bacon did, and yet Bacon walked away with it.
And completely extracted herself. No contact there. Wow, what a grab. Okay, so here's the Byers grab. Look at the read. Kirker's there. Kirker had just gotten the better of that matchup. But Byers with the big lefty grab. Here the shot from Daly. Daly just curving it in. Yeah, look at this again. Look at this again. It's a tiny window. Tilo really makes a beautiful read, goes out, does her best to avoid contact. Mad respect there. Bacon, and that's so tough to stay focused. And there's contact on the arm there. So, if it goes, maybe argument for a foul. But respect to Tilo for avoiding the contact to the maximum of her ability, and Bacon for being so focused that when that defense comes out of nowhere, that's a blindside D, pulls it in. Wow.
Strike definitely seemed to be locking in and again, using all these key players who they've needed to use the first half here in the second. And they find themselves with that maybe not comfortable 2-point lead, but a more comfortable 2-point lead.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're in their zone. Again, we talked about the energy, the back and forth. Indy had a prime opportunity. Big shot up from Tilo. Tilo looking for Swenson. Helms is in the area. Off Swenson's hands, and you see the frustration. Swenson had it. Swenson had steps. Swenson didn't even have the pressure of Mextroff that round.
Yeah.
They've been back and forth. Props to Helms for getting there quickly and, putting the body
Any
on.
pressure.
But, yeah, Swenson's definitely going to want that back. So Johnson over to Gray. Gray points and throws. We've seen that one before. Looking for Cook. Cook with the read. Cook with the second effort. But Mattimore there with the pressure. Immediately off to the races. Skittles, Milton. This time Swenson with the grab. Gray had stepped off. Oh, and it's Swenson with the elbow spike.
Yeah, and just a laser into the end zone for the goal after a tough turn. We've seen Gray with so much swagger here, and it didn't quite go to Cook here. And
Do you like the move by Gray to step off and provide that pressure? Or do you think she needs to step back and absorb Swenson?
Hindsight's 20/20, but I think that was a good move to put some pressure on the handler. I wouldn't mind covering Swenson, especially again what we know now. But yeah, it was a good play. It was a great laser throw into the end zone too, removing any doubt of if that disc is going to land.
Yeah, Zdeklik was there, and I think that's just reach of Zdeklik has big layouts, but not as long as Swenson's
right,
are.
and she's still getting up from that previous layout.
Yeah, that's a tough one. All right, so we've got that upwind line out for Indy. Bacon will pick up for this team finds Steph Wood on the outside. Byers coming with the under. Hobday taking that Byers matchup. Byers turned it, was looking deep. Now instead we'll get the under. Byers over to Bacon. Bacon in motion across. Otapalik was in the space, clears out over to Daly. Steph Wood went break side, cut back inside, inches from the goal. Woods looking, has Mex. And without the pressure of Swenson's long arms, Wyckoff not quite enough to shut down Mextroff.
This strike team has been so good in the red zone, too. Again, staying patient, finding these small cuts to make, winning their matchups, not letting the pressure of the end zone get to them.
And that is Mextroff's second goal this quarter. Look out.
Again, she's opening up. They're in for some trouble if she keeps this momentum up.
So, you know that time is a limitation. We're not to the fourth quarter, but we're counting down towards it. If you're Indy, what do?
You know, I think their defensive pressure when they're throwing that zone was pretty effective. I don't think Strike could quite figure out how to get the disc through that. We haven't seen as much this half yet. And again, Strike are finding ways to get through it. These key players are stepping up. We're seeing Bacon open up. We're seeing Mextroth and Byers get the disc in their hands. I think they need to almost go back to what they were doing in the first half.
Well, and something to consider is that this stadium is notorious for being really windy in the first half, but as the sun goes down, the wind changes. It might be, but that there's less wind on the field. We're not seeing it as impactful. I mean, we're still seeing some flag movement, but I agree with you. And there, big D from Chucks Wilson airs it out for Gray. Gray with the jumping catch, just one step short of the end zone. Has Wilson again, looks to reset, looks for Carr. Carr's covered, finds Monshine. Monshine to Wilson. Wilson with the bookends. Does that feel like a little bit of the nail in the coffin?
In this game it does. I think a 3-point lead doesn't always mean that's the game, but seeing how both teams have been playing and how impactful a single break will be, now to have 2 breaks in a row and a 3-point lead, that's pretty big going into the fourth quarter.
And so we're getting another look at this. Look at how calm Gray is. Under pressure, first option isn't there, finds the second, and that deeper angle, the change of the angle.
Yeah, props to Tori Gray. It could be so easy to just get so excited right there on the end zone, knocking on the door. You could just throw that away really quickly, but she takes a step, takes a breath, resets, and it pays off for the team. That's unselfish ultimate.
And apologies to Chucks. I need to be saying Hill, and I know that. She absolutely is going to give me hell over that, and that's appropriate. But that is Julia Chucks Hill there with the score and the D and all the bookends in the world.
Playing against her former team, mind you. Used to play for Indy Red, and it's always exciting to kind of go against your former team and maybe meet up with some of your past friends, past teammates, and now playing against them.
So for Indy, Kitten will pick up working with Nesso. Big pressure play from Cook. That shot intended for McGuire. Cook instead with the fingertips. Johnson picking up and Cook to receive again. Finds Zedeklik. Zedeklik down on the sideline. Lasering inside, swings it to Johnson. Johnson looks and Cook with the score. Bookends to bookends.
Wow.
Strike just pouring on the pressure. And you're hearing, listen to that audience. The crowd is really starting to get into this. This is a big home crowd.
And again, last game of the season, just what a great way to end your season here at home. They're opening up this game, ready to close out the third quarter here with a 4-point lead. That's multiple bookends in a row. Yeah, this strike team is finding their rhythm. With Cook's 4th goal of the game as well.
4th.
I mean, you don't see that very often for Jane Cook. Again, we always see these big blocks from her. She always makes highlight plays, but they're usually not in the end zone on the receiving end. So it's kind of nice to see.
Yeah, that's a sweet feeling. You earn the D and you get to respond with the goal. Whew. Yeah, Chucks and Cook can go have a party after this. Can we get more bookends?
I will take some.
Big pull again from Gray. Matamore to pick up. So we've got that downwind lineup. I like this addition of Chuck Wilson for Red. Low catch from Mast. But the shot goes high. That shot intended for Schloniger. It just feels a little unravelly, a little sloppy now from this Indy team. Monshine staying focused through the pressure from Mast. Nothing lacking about Mast's foot speed. Semper up to Helms. Nothing coming. A lot of patience. Hill goes up high, but instead Matamore will come down with the disc. Matamore goes over the top. Love her high release. And Mast finds Shirley Saunders for the score.
Red definitely needed that point. Like you said, they're almost disconnecting a little bit. They're kind of losing maybe their rhythm as Strike is finding theirs. They really needed that hold, I think, to keep them within this game. Again, 3 points, definitely doable to come back in the fourth quarter, but if they didn't get that hold, this game would look a lot different.
Yeah, that's a big swing. 15-10 sounds very different from 14-11.
Mm-hmm.
Just it feels a little bit more insurmountable, but the cleanness, that cross field, the break side shot just looked so easy and smooth. That's really confidence restoring for this Indy Red team and definitely shows you what they can be capable of. They have looked just liquid smooth against some really tough defenses throughout the season, but a little inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think was frustrating for the Minnesota Strike coming into this of 1-4 record. It makes you think that they're a bad team, but they really think they've got an incredible ceiling, and played just some really tough teams going into this.
PUL is a tough league this year. There's a lot of great teams, and I think the Strike and Red have seen some of the best in the league this season.
So now Minnesota Strike with their offense back on the field. Danny Byers with the Mast matchup. The reset to Daly just pops through. Really good pressure there from Tilo. Tilo will walk through, and it is Matamore picking up.
Red's going to have this quarter to finish out.
Crossover from Red. Crossover. We're end of the third. Time has expired, but they got it within the time, so now Red gets a chance, and Minnesota will not be able to respond. That's a third opportunity lost for Minnesota. Marching up the line. Mast finds Kirker on the inside. Kirker looking for a reset. Bacon doing a good job of covering Matamore. Matamore fires the backhand break. Intended for Tilo. No go. That's a tough one. That is what Indy Red earned it. They earned the chance and just got a little too eager.
Yeah, neither team has been able to capitalize at the end of the quarter. And again, that's almost like a free point, especially if you're coming to receive at the next quarter. So we'll see what the fourth quarter brings.
All right, so a little bit of a break here for us. We'll be joining you back here shortly for the fourth quarter action in this really back and forth hard-fought game between Minnesota Strike and Indy Red. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We are here in the fourth quarter, Minnesota Strike versus Indy Red. Going to give a little bit of recognition to some of our sponsors.
If you are enjoying today's stream, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go toward player pay, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams like the one today. Thank you for supporting the strike.
Some recognition for the Black Heart of St. Paul. It is a queer soccer bar in the heart of Midway, a bar that brings people together for a drink, drag, or an ultimate watch party. The Black Heart of St. Paul is also the official post-game party location for all Minnesota Strike home games. If you're sitting at home but in St. Paul or Minneapolis today, join us.
Check out Bar of Their Own in South Minneapolis, the Midwest's first sports bar exclusively to show women's sports, including the away games for your Minnesota Strike.
Yeah, there have been some incredible games there this season. A little bit more recognition, too, for VC. VC is the exclusive official uniform sponsor of the Minnesota Strike. Get your official Strike jerseys, hats, and more at vcultimate.com/collection/Minnesota Strike. All right, y'all. Big crowd. Last home game of the season. Last quarter of the last home game of the season. What do you want to see, Jeff?
You know, I mean, it's so great, first of all, to see this crowd. It's a perfect day for Ultimate and watching. I think the Strike, again, have pulled away in the third quarter. I really want to see them keep up this momentum, find these players who were stopped in the first half, and see if Red can also pick up the first half momentum and get some more competition almost in the fourth quarter here, see if they can make it interesting at the end.
All right, well, Strike with the disc on the field. Steph Woods and Daly working it. Again, just this disconnect, this little bit of being a step or a finger or even an inch off from Danny Byers. So Red with their first break chance of the quarter. Sammy Phillips has it. Was looking for Risa Umeno. Pressure from Steph Woods, but it looks like Umeno will keep it. Yeah, I'm seeing a strike, no contest. Up here in the booth, we really appreciate hand signals. Thank you to the players for using them. Again, you'll see that crossing of the hands and then the open, that's the foul, no contest. And wonder of all wonders, do you know what's happening right now?
It looks like they called a timeout here.
And it is only the second timeout of the game.
You know, that is impressive. I think timeouts can be used very strategically in the PUL, and the fact that neither team has really been using them to their advantage, you know, it's kind of an interesting choice.
Right? And I hear you when you say interesting. That's a good choice of words, because I would say it is a flat-out mistake. Because there have been a lot of turn-heavy opportunities, especially some short field ones. Now, it shows trust in the teams, but at the same time, if you're on your second or third turn and counter turn, use your timeouts.
Yeah, you know, there's been some extended points too. I think that's when you get a fresh set of legs and get some new players out on the field. Again, we've seen players flex over lines, so it's not like you have to immediately call a timeout, but give them a break, give them some relief, and get some momentum going your way.
Mm-hmm. So interestingly enough, Indy will be putting out what has largely been their downwind, potentially prime O-line, while Minnesota is putting out their D-line. So I'm curious if this will incur miscues. I just didn't get it out fast enough.
Wow, look at that.
And I don't think the wind has a huge amount to play, but it does change when you're only going one side of the field. So now Tori Gray with the disc, airs it out to Jane Cook. That's sitting high. Maya Hernandez is in the area. Cook boxes, inches shy of the guard line. Is she going to jam it in? Is she going to be able to swing around? I like this mark from Hernandez.
Hernandez doing a great job and still can't stop Cook.
Cook finds Hendrickson. That is Hendrickson's first time on the board. Cook wrapping up the triples. Goals and assists and blocks on the book.
Wow.
What a game for Jane Cook.
You know, we've seen this connection, I've noticed, the Tori Gray to Jane Cook connection has been strong in this game. I've loved seeing, again, Gray air it out so confidently looking downfield.
Wheeling and dealing. Which one is which? You tell me.
Yeah, exactly. They're just such a good duo. And again, Cook now with the assist, the opportunity for the assist.
And credit to Hendrickson there on that point. That got hairy in the corner. Hernandez had a fantastic mark, was really pinned. Again, watch this. This disc trails more than Gray wanted to. Cook ends up all the way on both the end zone but the corner. And you'll get a little bit better of a look here. Look at this. All the way over. All the way pinned. And everyone kind of floods to her as well.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
Instead of cutting, stood still. Let the defense react and made it easy for Cook to just hit the spot. I'm pretty sure Cook was at a high stall count. So now this is kind of all crucial for Red. They are down 4. Both of their lines have been broken. They are getting to go, we'll call it downwind.
It's always tough to say here.
Yeah, but fourth quarter, you've got to score and you've got to score fast because you've got to get your defense out there and you've got to be replicating this. You've only got 10 minutes to play.
Yeah, it's worth noting, too, that fourth quarter, there is a time limit. Once time's up, that's the game, and so the Red will have to work quickly here and efficiently getting this disc downfield.
Yeah, and right now, maintaining possession, this is good, but they've got to move quickly. Pressure there from Cook. Mast keeps it. I love this Cook-Mast matchup. It's so good. Matamore there with the score. Zedeklik was there with the pressure. Zedeklik has been so close to so many. But Matamore there just maintaining all the way through, and that was a fairly significant amount of contact.
Yeah, I was wondering if, when Zedeklik got up, if she was going to start limping. She seems to be okay. But yeah, she's been right in the thick of some of these big plays.
Yeah, credit to Matamore turning around, making sure Zedeklik was going to get up and be okay. But yeah, that was impressive from Matamore. Again, through a fair amount of contact. I wouldn't call it a dangerous play, but definitely a foul. So, yeah, that was exactly what Red ordered. And you see the volleyball spike from Matamore. She's pumped, get some energy for the team, and now defense needs to ride that energy. They've been able to get turns, but they need to punch one of these in.
Yeah, converting on break opportunities is so key. We saw in a few past strike games that they were held to very few break points, especially in their first halves of their games, and ended up losing those. You can get turnovers, but if you're not going to convert, it's going to be tough to win the game.
Indy has only had one break so far, and Danny Byers with the wide open Danny Byers score. Shout out to Keith Rayner, who likes the Danny Buckets tagline. Buckets for days.
It's hard to score a break on that.
That's a tough one. I mean, are we going to see a Danny Byers fourth quarter? We saw a Mextroff third quarter.
That's right. It's her turn.
Love this shot from Steph Wood. Maybe a little bit of a toe tail there, but flat, soft, gorgeous touch. And watch, Byers comes from shallow. Byers starts that cut from all the way back near where Steph throws it. So the defender's trailing, but she's also got wide open space. She's not getting there and waiting for the disc. I love that initiation of where that cut came from.
And again, we saw Wood just turn around and not even hesitate. She knew Byers was going deep. Byers knows what Wood is capable of. Like you said, doesn't go in and sit. She just breaks. Steph Wood turns around, sees Byers and gets it in.
Yeah, that's trust. Chemistry and trust. All right, so a quick responding hold. This game still separated by 4. Tilo airs it out, but straight into the outreaching hands of Jane Cook.
And that's what Strike wanted to do early in this game, was bait the deep, Wow.
Hill takes the shot. Monshine with the saving grab, but immediately signals the energy. That one looks like it hurt.
Yeah, big layout, big impact on the field. Hopefully she'll be all right, but it was a great turn. Again, Strike wanted to bait the deep, let Indy air it out, let them look deep, and force some turnovers. And it worked out there. It hadn't worked out earlier. They hadn't even had a lot of chances. And I think Red's almost feeling the pressure now to keep up, catch up.
So Cook with the disc there in the end zone. Really excellent handler defense from Red. Forces a turn. And that's unfortunate. Strike had been really good in the red zone, especially with this D-line in terms of possession. And I wonder if some of that isn't that absence of Monshine, who's been kind of that secondary player once their first options clear out. But now Indy off to the races. Saunders has got it. Saunders looks for Tilo, just goes too far. And that's tough. Saunders not usually the one taking those shots. And that can also be tough if you're not necessarily used to going that direction. Saunders has been crossing over a little bit between lines. So right now, Minnesota with another chance to score. Again, this would be a break for Minnesota. Looks like we had a stoppage on the field. I think we're seeing a pick called by Swenson, probably when Cook was coming to the break side. So disc will restart. Probably short stall count. Love this sag by Milton out, making that a much tougher throw. Woods catches it, but overshoots to Cook. Yeah, that's tough in comparison to the shot that she just made.
Yes.
And I think that's all due to the pressure of the defense. Tilo saying, come on in. Instead, we'll go up to Garansher. Garansher squeaks one in past Hendrickson. Finds Sloniger. Sloniger back to Garansher. Garansher has Milton, but there's also a lot of traffic. Instead finds Tilo. Tilo swinging around Saunders with the sliding save. And dishes to Milton. Cook was there, but Milton continues. That's a big hold from Indy.
Yeah, credit to Indy Red there. Again, moving the disc around pretty patiently. They, I think, adjusted very well, seeing that their long game wasn't working. I think they did a great job with their handlers, just resetting, moving the disc, breaking Strike's defense, and finding Skittles in the end zone.
Yeah, by comparison, we're moving at a quicker pace. We're scoring at a quicker pace so far this quarter. Do you think there's a world in which Indy makes up the spread?
You know, if they can find their groove, they do like to work quickly. They can catch Strike sleeping a little bit. They can close this gap, but again, they're going to have to break a couple times if they want to.
Yeah, that's a tall task. They've got the depth to do it. They've got the firepower to do it. And if you look now, as soon as McGuire lets go of this disc, you'll see they're crossing over a couple. Mast is out there. McGuire, Umeno. Looks like they've got Hobb Day, so they're Kitten as well. They're putting out what arguably could be a kill lane. They know they have to get a break now. If not, they're going to run out of time. 6 minutes left on the clock. Daly to Byers. Woods and Beck clearing. Mextroff hunting for the space. Gets the disc all the way on the sideline. Looks for Otapalik. Instead, will swing. That goes for Daly. Daly saves it.
What a grab.
Daly all alone in the backfield. Bacon goes just too far. The stack was too far. The reset was too far. So now, big opportunity right now for the Indy Red. Kitten with the disc. Beck nice and flat on the markup. Seth Wood with the run through D and continuing to run downfield. Bacon to pick up. McGuire, big and flat mark, looks for Steph Woods, slows down the catch, but still gets it, finds Otapalik. Otapalik has Mex. Shot will go. Mex all alone in the end zone.
And, with less than 6 minutes, less than half of the quarter left to go, that 4-point lead, that was again a big break opportunity for Red. They've been very aggressive. I'll give them credit. Very aggressive in their lines, trying to throw out something that's going to stick, trying to throw out something that's going to slow down the strike. It just kind of hasn't swung their way.
They are successfully getting the opportunities. They're getting the opportunities. They're earning them here. And it's just so frustrating that they're not able to punch them in. This could be such a different game. At the end, that amazing save from McKella. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is fatigue on Strike's point, but they were just too deep. Steph was really saving this point with that run through D. And I think the energy from that and how deep that was in their side of the field, just really enabling this. Otapalik just with the layup to Mextroff. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Like, that's
exactly what you want to see. And again, Otapalik, too, is I believe, a first year with the Strike and throwing to Mextroff. That's a fun combination to see again. Such a deep team. Lots of different experience on this team. And it's fun to see them convert like that.
So now Indy again with the disc. Matamar up to Hernandez. Matamar and Garanser working in the backfield, finds Milton on the around. Matamar's just been so effective in moving the disc and repositioning the attack. Swenson looks, easy dish to Matamar. Zedeklik taking this Matamar matchup. Pressure on the throw to Garanser, but it will go. Finds Hernandez, still working this force side. Shot just shy of the end zone, inches to go. Swenson for the dish. The dish to the corner.
That's Red's game. They love their end zone, their red zone dishes.
You've got to know it's coming. You've got to seal that off. When you've got the prime position as a defender, you can't allow the offense to just scoot around you. But I mean, the length of Swenson and the ability to accelerate through that. Watch this again. Just runs, blows by the defense. Garanser knows it's coming.
Yeah, and I'm sure they've practiced that play so many times, the way they run it, and it works just about every time.
So another look at this duo. Matamor and Swenson, both incredibly effective. Part of the reason the score is as close as it is. Both these teams sub 20. These teams have played in games where the score has been a lot higher. They both have the capacity to score a lot more. I think some of this is conditions and some of this the defensive pressure that both these teams have brought to play. McGuire airs out the pull, gives herself a little bit of applause as it goes out of bounds. Not her best, but she's played a lot of points this game.
Yeah, I'm sure fatigue is setting in for both teams. Like you said, defensive pressure. There's been a lot of turnovers, a lot of longer points, and both teams are really putting each other to work. This has been a great game. Again, cannot be upset with this being the finale for both teams this season.
Daly looking. Beck closely guarded downfield. Instead, we'll go to Bacon. A lot of separation right now between the stack. But Daly with the big gainer up to Otapalik. Another up the line to Daly. Goes across field. What an incredible throw. Finds Steph Wood for the goal. That was a little bit of Matrix action. What was that?
My heart stopped a little bit. I thought a couple players were maybe going to get a haircut today. I think some of their own Strike players had to duck for that one.
I saw some ducking action. Let's get another look at this.
It was a fun look.
Daly. Laser. Not that high.
No.
Hands should have maybe gone up there. Okay, let's get the full field look. Yeah, Bacon going, no, not for me. Yep. No, thank you.
Yeah. For a split second, I thought that might have been a missed throw, but this team, they are able, again, that chemistry, I think there's an unspoken communication there. They know what they're going to do. Even if I'm up here in the booth having a heart attack. They're so confident in who is going to be where and what throw I can get off at any point.
I love the vision. Let me be clear.
Yes.
Like, commentary aside, I love the vision. I love the cross-field action. I think it was a little low. Like, just a touch more awareness from one of 3 red defenders, and that gets smacked down.
Right.
But I think maybe the quickness with which she elected to do it is what makes that go. So now red, with Matamore back on the field, going up to Hernandez. Cutter cycling through, having to look to the reset. Matamore finds Saunders off on the side. Love the flat mark from Grave, pushing them back. Hill has the Matamore matchup. Chuck Wilson working. Mast finds Hernandez, up to Chuck Wilson. Helm is there. Helm with the help D. And I think that has been one of the difference makers.
Yeah, I think, again, field awareness, presence on the field has been so big for both teams, swinging both ways. Strike being able to just recognize where that disc is going to be. Red not quite able to set themselves up where they want to be, where that disc is coming down.
So right now, Hendrickson working with Semper. Hill's back there as well. Really looking to use their legs and I think also burn some clock. There is an awareness of they're up by 4. Maybe not what they wanted. Off the hands of Hendrickson. And now a little bit of a short field for red.
Yeah, and again, red has to work pretty quickly here. Less than 3 minutes in this game. And these turnovers are only extending that point, running that clock.
Yeah, I don't like this training turnovers, though we are seeing a foul signaled. Semper saying that Garen Schur fouled her on that throw. So a little bit of discussion. I'm seeing a leg go up from Garen Schur.
Calling in the observer here just to get another look at it.
Let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. Getting a little bit of replay of the action. So Garen Schur, I think, did a really good job of getting a leg there involved. We weren't able to see from that, at least I didn't.
No, I mean, it was a good disruption of the throw, maybe. It maybe caught her by surprise. I didn't see any.
Semper might have been saying that she thought that the disc was still in her hand during that, but it looks like Indy will keep possession. So the D stays. Now Matamore working with Wilson. And I think I'm figuring out the origin of my confusion of the Chuck earlier. We've got a Chuck Wilson and a Chuck Hill. Very different play styles, but saving grab from Mast. And we do have a timeout.
There we go. Another timeout here in the second half.
I mean, it felt like they were a little flat on timing. I like this timing for this, and also that maybe then they can set something up and rest their players. Lots of backs and forths. We will, though, take the opportunity to recognize Discraft. The Discraft Ultrastar is the official disc of the Premier Ultimate League. And Discraft, the world leader in disc sports.
This live broadcast of the Premier Ultimate League is brought to you by Breakmark Ultimate Apparel. Go to breakmark.com to place your next custom team order or check out the PUL Athlete Collab shops.
Okay. So as we were saying just before that, I like this choice. It was a little messy. The clock is burning. That's only to the Strike's advantage. So I really think it helps for Indy to be able to set their line and get a plan, rest their heads, rest their legs. Your thoughts? What do you think they're setting up here?
You know, both teams definitely looked maybe like they were just getting a little antsy on the turns. This extended point definitely will help them just mentally reset and physically reset, get some fresh legs. But Red's still going to have to work quickly here.
Okay, so McGuire has the disc. Shot over to Milton. That shot won't go. Instead, it's Ekstrom who comes down with it. Ekstrom working with Johnson in the backfield. Cook looking for the disc. Was guarded by McGuire. It looks like there was a stoppage coming through the stack. I mean, we just kind of expect Cook to be that wide open, right?
Yeah, I didn't even question it. I just, yeah. The way she's been playing tonight.
So quick look at this D. You see the disc just hanging up. Matamore has a good read on it, but Ekstrom really taking the space. So Cook will keep the disc as it lies. Ekstrom there looking for Cook on the reset. Cook well marked by McGuire. Instead goes up the line to Zedeklik. Zedeklik, open shot through pressure from Swenson and finds Monshine. We getting a little Selly action here? Look at that. Maybe not executed, but the spirit's there.
There we go.
Aw, and they get carted off the field.
Right after that look, Zedeklik just ran to Monshine. They had that one planned out. Love to see just the good energy from this team here.
So here in the final hour, another break from Strike.
That's refreshing to see. Again, I think Strike have been kind of quiet in the last few games on their break opportunities. And so the fact that, again, even the first half, they only had a couple. This second half, they've really been able to open up. And that's been their strength this game is capitalizing on those turnovers. There's been a lot of turnovers from both teams. The difference is Strike's been able to execute.
Yeah, no one can say this has been a clean game.
Mm-hmm.
Zeros on that. But I do think, exactly as you're saying, the capitalization on the opportunities are the difference makers here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with just about a minute left to go in the game, it'll be an electric end for the Strike here.
Big energy from the crowd cheering their team on with 1 minute left to play. Alicia Carr airs out the pull, and it is Phillips working with Burkhart back and forth, trying to just power through. Finally gets over to McGuire. Resting a lot of, you might argue, are the top players, but they've played the top players.
Yeah.
Time to give their depth some legs to rest. Love that shot up the line from Burkhart to McGuire. They're in the red zone. They're doing something right. A little bit of a shake and bake. Big hustle. And it is Burkhart who comes up with the score.
What
polite applause from the side, but her side explodes.
You have to respect that point. That was such a great layout. But even just working up the field, again, like you said, they're using their depth now. Been very aggressive on how they've put out their lines. And
look again. Look, she had to go full extension to pull that one out. That was an incredible grab by Burkhart.
I mean, that might be a highlight, for years to come. Wow.
This one and the save in the corner from Monshine. We're going opposite corners.
Yes.
Incredible grabs.
Yeah, it feels like we're using all four corners of the end zone in some capacity in this game.
Absolutely. 30 seconds left to play. If you're Indy Red, what do you want out of this last 30 seconds?
You don't want to let up. You want to keep putting pressure on. You want to end this game on a high note. You want to just honestly prevent Strike from scoring again. It would not be bad to get a break here. This is, again, a pride matchup for both teams, and it'd be fun to be the last team to score this season.
Absolutely. Fun fact, last two goals back-to-back, 21. Monshine with the goal for Strike, Burkhart with the goal for Indy Red. Otapalik with the disc right now, looking for Bacon. Good ceiling defense from Red, goes up the line to Daly instead. Daly looks, no options, does find Mextroff.
Closing seconds here.
Time a factor this last quarter. The clock will be the final. And it is Beck who pulls it down. And that is game.
What a way to end the season. A big 2015 win for Minnesota at home here.
And finally, an end of quarter score from the Minnesota Strike. Watch that snag from Beck. Beck has been a practice player all season long. There were a lot of players absent for this game that normally are starters for this Strike team. Beck rose to the occasion and gets the final goal.
Right.
How sweet a game for Beck.
Yeah, they did a great job leaning on their depth, utilizing everybody on the field tonight, finding their rhythm. It took a couple quarters to find their rhythm, but they did it finally, and they did a great job taking away from the Red and winning it here in front of their fans.
Yeah, what a huge finish. I loved the pressure. I loved that last line from Indy Red. That was so sweet, of just a lot of players whose names we hadn't necessarily seen, and that they worked it up, clean possession, clean hold, with a huge grab at the end.
Yeah,
what an incredible play.
That's a culture win right there. I mean, that's a big win in itself, to be able to put those players on that last point and come away with that last point there.
I'm a little tired. How about you?
That was a game. That was very.
What an incredible
game.
game.
That was fun, and it's been such a fun season too.
Yes, definitely one where you felt like there was more on the table. But I really think, remember, Strike said they wanted to show their ceiling. They wanted to prove that they were better than the record that they had. Indy came in with the winning record. We see why. We saw a lot of their talent, a lot of their systems. Their defense is able to provide pressure. Really incredible stuff there from both these teams. And what a sweet farewell, too, with Maya Hernandez getting that score.
Right.
In her last game of her career.
That's a great way to end that and just leave those memories.
So while we are waiting for our post-game interview, a little more love for our sponsors.
This live broadcast is brought to you by the Premier Ultimate League. The PUL is a 501c6 nonprofit. This league has been community funded since day one, and we are so grateful for the support. We ask that you consider donating to help us continue to transform and fulfill our mission. Head to premierultimateleague.com to donate today.
And if you enjoyed today's screen, please consider donating by scanning the QR code on your screen or at strikeultimate.com. Minnesota Strike is a nonprofit organization, and all donations go towards pay or play, travel costs, and bringing you high-quality live streams like the one today. Thank you for supporting the Strike. Cheers to Miss Monshine, who had a big game herself. All right, so we are going to have a quick break. You can see a lot of the energy, the celebration down on the field. Incredible last home game. We'll be back with you shortly with our interview. And welcome back to the end game wrap-up of the final home game for the Minnesota Strike versus Indy Red. It looks like we will be getting to speak with Sarah Monshine. What an incredible home game. Laura, down to you on the field.
All right, I'm here with Strike Sarah Monshine. Mooney, good game.
Thank you.
That was an excellent catch that you had.
Thanks.
Besides that catch, what went well for the team this game?
I think we came off a really hard doubleheader weekend and needed to revitalize some of our energy. So we really came in with some strength, came in with some energy the first 2 quarters. I think we were building up to that and then really kind of closed out the game strong with a lot of great energy. And it was an incredible way to end what was kind of a challenging season in some ways, but so much to be proud of and so much learned from the season.
So the last game of the season, kind of bittersweet. What reflections do you have to take from this whole season?
Yeah, I think it was a challenging season for Strike. We had, it's a great league. There's some incredible teams out there, and we had a very challenging schedule this year. So I think we didn't execute in some of the games where we wanted to, but it was awesome to end on a win, awesome to play our last game in front of this home crowd and really get to savor the season.
And then finally, do you have any other shout outs you want to give?
I want to give a shout out to my great aunt Penny. She's watched every game. She's been the #1 Strike fan from Arizona. So a major shout out to her. She's incredible. And then I feel like it has to go without saying tonight was Pride Night for the Strike. And I feel like Pride Night deserves a shout out. So happy Pride.
All right, and there you have it. Back to you in the booth. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Three blocks, incredible game, huge team effort here. What a way to wrap out the season. You heard there in her interview, just a feeling of closure, a feeling of ending on a strong note. Any last thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, again, it was a really fun season. 2-4 is not what they might have expected, what they want to hoped for, but there's so much to look forward to for the future of this team. Again, so many players who we saw tonight and throughout the season who've been so good, and they've a great foundation that they can build on. And again, this game, what a better way to end than a win at home.
Yeah, I think we really got a test of the chemistry that this team can have, the future, exactly what you were saying. If they've got so many good players, can I remind you, Zedeklik, like inches away in high school, only going to get better, going to be playing for some really prime teams in college. Like there's just the future is so bright. And cheers to this Indy Red team incorporating a lot of talent themselves. Like this was such a fun game to end the season on. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me up here.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking about the Strike, as you know, and what better way to be up to celebrate Strike season than being up in the booth with you, Kelsey, talking about the Strike.
Yeah, and as we're recapping, any things that just really stand out in your memory from this game?
I think just like we talk about Moonshine, like look at that huge layout. She has such a big spread, 2 goals, assists, 3 blocks. It felt like almost every player made an impact like that. Everyone was doing everything. Maybe not, racking up these huge numbers, but everyone was able to get a block. Everyone was able to find an assist or get a goal. Just a great team win. Everyone was so well-rounded. And that's exactly what you want to see, is this team working well on all fronts.
Yeah, you're seeing here some of these back-to-back goals from Cook. Cook ending the game. 4 goals and assists, multiple Ds. Massive game from Cook. You're seeing again just the pressure. Mast earlier in the game had kind of trading points with Mexdroff. Mexdroff feeling the pressure from Swenson, able to come back from that in the 3rd quarter. Huge looks, time and again. This big grab, the lefty grab from Danny Byers, the sound of the trumpet of what we know is usually just a serenade of the Danny Byers, but we still got to see a little bit of it. God, and this gorgeous in pace. That was the Danny Byers we know and love. We knew it was coming. We got, how many back-to-back bookends did we get? Was it like 3 in a row?
I think it was 3, yeah.
Definitely have to watch this one back.
Yeah, I love seeing that. Again, bookends, it exemplifies. They get the block and then they get the goal right away. Everyone felt like they were doing everything, and I love seeing that.
Yeah, just what a game of highlights. Again, we talked about just there not being that many just true throwaways. It was defensive pressure. It was big Ds. It was chancy looks, trying to find and earn those hard windows. Yeah, I'll be thinking about this one for quite a while to come.
Yeah.
What an end up. Thanks for joining us. We love being here. We love supporting the strike. Again, if you're nearby and you just couldn't make it out to the game, come join us at the Heart. Just down the road. We'll be there enjoying the day. What a beautiful day.
Perfect day.
And if you haven't, move to Minnesota. We've got good ultimate. We've got good weather.
That's right. And great
Yeah,
crowds.
and what an incredible end to the season. We love being here with you. Kelsey Percy here with Jeff Novak. Have a great end to your year. See you later, folks.